Hi you guys, just a few things that I told you I was going to bring up when I was doing my video today and then I forgot to bring it up. But there was definitely a bunch of synchronicities that came up with a video I was watching of Sam the Illusionist on Adam and Eve and the trail it led me on. So I just want to bring it up really quickly. I don't want to make this long, but I did want to see if anything was coming up with you guys regarding these synchronicities. So one of the things, well, just a little bit about what he was talking about, that the actual Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve had to do with the Elohim coming down and merging with the Neanderthals. And he talked about 69 females and 69 males that were chosen by the Elohim to merge with, so that then they could come down and teach them on their own level, because they'd be the same as them and they wouldn't be intimidated by the Elohim. But the 69, then 69 came up like 5 times since then, and the total being 138. And 38 is the Queen of Cups. 69 is the Ace of Pentacles, actually. And he talked about the original place being Dalmatia, which is now on the map as across from Italy in Croatia and Albania. But Albania came up with me like 3 or 4 years ago as Jail Beach in Haimar. That actually was a place that I'd end up going to with a group. And there's definitely Dalmatia there now, but the Dalmatia he was talking about, they said, was near Turkey and Armenia and the Mesopotamia area, which is actually below Turkey and Armenia. So I was trying to dig into this to see if I could get more information about what was coming up as exactly where this was. So the Dalmatia was coming up, I wrote that at 1221. And then remember, Georgia is above Armenia, and Georgia was coming up in another way here in my notes, as well as my daughter's in Georgia, so there's always these connections, okay? And the Dalmatia coming up was really funny because I've never had an affinity necessarily for Dalmatian dogs, but this past month or so, I've made a strong connection with a Dalmatian down the street from me when I go on my jog. He always runs up to the fence to greet me, and last time I saw the dog, it was like, you know, I know you. It was just a weird connection. And then I passed the owner walking the dog. Was the first time I'd seen the owner the other day when I was jogging, and I had to compliment her on her dog because it's such a sweet dog. But it's a Dalmatian, and here we have Dalmatia here. There's also information that came up online about the origins of Dalmatians, because that was interesting too. So Turkey and Armenia and the East Roman Empires, that same area of Mesopotamia. So Greece, Turkey, and Egypt, that whole area. And the Illyrian tribe called the Dalmatae, which then was a Roman province. But remember that Rome wasn't Italy back then. It was this whole, you know, Roman Empire, which would then have been Turkey at certain dates in history. So the Dalmatia language, and this is coming up from Wikipedia, I believe, the Dalmatian language became the Venetian language, because that Dalmatia language is now extinct. So the coat of arms came up from Dalmatia as blue and gold. The flag and the coat of arms looked like 3 lions on the coat of arms, and then just 2 stripes of the blue and gold. And the blue and gold, I was told, was the color. I don't see cords, but when I was told my cord is blue and gold, and my school colors are blue and gold, but also the blue rays, it's the gold and blue rays, so all of that energy around the twins was coming up. And then a picture of a Dalmatian dog came up, and the name of the dog was Tally-Ho Sirius, S-I-R-I-U-S, from about 1939. And then a map came up with Phoenicia on it, and Babylon, and Ur, and Sumer, amongst others, an Asia Minor type map. And then Gobekli Tepe came up, which was the oldest site that came up, as well as the one that would correspond to the area that Sam was referring to in his channeling. So I was looking to see if there were 69-foot walls there. And the highest walls listed there were 50 feet, but I don't know, and that was the artificial mound, which was about 50 feet, called Potbelly Hill, and it was discovered and excavated by Klaus Schmidt. And Klaus has come up several times this past week in talking about Santa Claus and Santa Claus. And also T's been coming up constantly, including time out several times yesterday and the day before. And here the T's coming up again is the T-shaped stone pillars there. And the megaliths, there was different pillars measuring 20 feet tall that are actually fit into the bedrock beneath. And the coordinates of Gobekli Tepe are 37 by 38, which is the King and Queen of Cups. The 37 was 1323, which is the Transformation and the King of Wands. And the 38 was 55 and 21 feet and inches, which was the Ace of Swords or Excalibur, and the World or Completion. And E, which is Northeast, which comes up a lot. So they just talked about, like a lot of ruins, it's like they can't believe this actually happened. There had to be some kind of higher intelligence involved. And that was coming up here. It's also referred to as the Cathedral on the Hill. And the Euphrates and Tigris rivers would be nearby there. The Knights Templar then came up in a site that came up from 1119, talking about the time of them protecting the pilgrims en route to the Holy Land or Jerusalem. And then in parentheses, Ashbridge came up. And I talk about ash all the time. So of course it caught my eye. So Ashbridge 2012, pages 168 to 70 came up, saying that yes, they may have been protecting the pilgrims en route to Jerusalem, but they may also have been there regarding looking for artifacts. It may have been an excuse for them to be there. And sign and seal came up there. So then megalithic structures were coming up, and the methyllithic yard as well as degrees, which the methyllithic yard is around 0.83 meters or 2.7 feet. So here's that 27 again, 72. 27 being the Ace of Wands. And then the megalithic yards were 366 as well as degrees. So instead of 360 degrees, 366 degrees, as well as the methyllithic yards, all used in the calculations for many different ancient sites. Okay. So the DNA relations they were bringing up here to these energies had to do with the Finns and Icelanders, as shooting was going on outside because there's a police range nearby, but I haven't heard it in a while. Sam had also mentioned his channeling Lake Van, which is in Turkey. It's also associated with Gobekli Tepe. And also the Mesopotamian wall came up, listed here, and the Great Citadel Rock at Van, as well as carvings of the kings, the Eurasian kings, buried in rock-cut tombs there, 150,000 years, and then Van and Amadon came up, which I don't know anything about, but led the highland descendants of their original human followers in laboring for the upliftment of the world to untold generations, legends of two immortal ministers of God who continue to live and walk among men, Van and Amadon. And the And-Night race came up. They came to be viewed as divine or near divine, and were woven into spreading tradition, superstitions, and religions across humanity. The Urartu came up, which became the Ararat, which is actually Armenia. So here we're back to Armenia again. And then the Eurasia Book came up, which is a 2,000-page book, probably a channeling. It was a book that originated in Chicago, covering 1924 to 1955 with an unknown author, but was very much seemed like information from a channeling. And this IDs Lake Van, but more so the headquarters of the foothills of Kopet Dau, or Daf, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, D-A-U-G-H, later settled at the shores of Lake Van. So Lake Van would have been after that first location. So also the same order later appearing as the Makivento Melchizedeks. And Andrites were coming up here 500,000 years before Van and Amanda, who looked like Eskimos. Nodites were coming up here. And Adamites, Adamsmites or Adamites in Turkestani, previously inhabited by Van and Amadon, were ancestors of the early Greeks. Okay, so I guess there was suspicions that this husband and wife couple, who were both actually respected physicians, were actually the ones channeling this. But obviously they wouldn't want to come out because it may have, destroyed their reputations as serious physicians. So then chariots of fire were coming up regarding Elijah in the Bible, and that chariots of fire literally has to do with someone who doesn't actually experience death when they change dimensions. The fusion flash with the maternal body consumed by the fiery light and the soul translated to the afterlife. And here's where one of my bills came up as 16969. So there's the 69s coming up. But the year 1969 came up, not 19, but another 69 year came up later on in my notes here. So the chariots of fire talks about the pilgrimage of growth ultimately to God and the residue or paradise. The mortal who reaches this stage are called final and leaders, or glorified mortals, unselfish service to others, and paradise surrounded by Havona, eternal universe with 1 billion perfect worlds around which 7 incomplete and evolutionary super universes then circle. And the reference numbers were 71 and 72. So here's that 72 coming up, but as well as 71. So then there was descriptions here about Lemur ancestors with the first human twins, a male and female twins called Andan and Fanta, born 993419 years prior to 1934, which was referenced in 73 and 74 here. So again, the 69 Adams and the 69 Eves of Neanderthals that mixed with the Elohim, and then the place being the Dalmatia, where they initially made families. This was the first time the actual mother, father, child were put together. And Lake Van was coming up, and notice that Van is like a chariot. It's a vehicle. With the apple tree without roots, which hybrids were not allowed to eat, so that wouldn't alter their DNA to the way the Elohim made them to be so that they could connect with them and teach them. And they usually stopped their age at age 27. So here's that 27 number coming up again. And he talked about Luciferians and the Elohim that went to the dark side because they had friendships with the prior Luciferians who actually brought them over to the dark side. And then the Elohim were referred to by him in this channeling as the devil. So then my aunt came to visit me on the couch, who was right here on the back of the couch. Same aunt who's been here all week roaming around my cards. She's really funny. So, I feel the bugs around my house, or if there was a mouse in the house too, I'd feel them, especially if they're not expecting me to come in the room, because my aunts are pretty familiar with me, so they don't get too scared about me. But I can feel their energies, like if they're scared that I came in the room. So the aunt came here, and I started having a conversation with the aunt, and this aunt was just sitting there wanting to connect and have telepathic communication with me. His little antenna were up, moving around, and he's just standing there, he's not going anywhere. So I was talking to him to see if we could get some kind of communication going. I didn't really pick up on any words because I was feeling him. But then all of a sudden, after he listened to me for a little while, he just started moving on to the next piece over here, and I was getting 40 days and 40 nights as he roamed across the whole next section, and then all of a sudden disappeared. Now you see me, now you don't, which has been coming up this week. And again, the 40 days and 40 nights. So then what was coming up in my read that I was actually doing for tomorrow in the union read, the belly dance was coming up, which was taking me back to the Potbelly Mound, which is Gobekli again, or Gobekli. Gobekli. I don't know. Gotepi? Why am I saying Gotepi? Well, I guess I'm mixing the two words. Gobekli Tepe. So I was getting the belly dance, the Potbelly, and then the Potbelly Hill is what it's referred to as. And then I came upon Ashbridge book. And Ashbridge was it was in one of those quotes about the pilgrimage. So of course it drew my attention because of the ash. You know, I'm talking about ashes all the time. And this was coming up from archive.org. The first Pennsylvania family, George Ashbridge and Mary Malin, and I'm in Pennsylvania. So I'm okay, all right, what are they taking me to here now? And the name Davies was in here too, which was a flash from the past because I did gymnastics when I was very young with someone named Davies. So this was coming up regarding, I believe, William Ashbridge, 1912, and then all of a sudden Lower Merion history, which I'm very familiar with Lower Merion. So the history there, .org came up, an Ashbridge house of multicolored field stone, and the Georgian period, so here's the Georgia coming up above Armenia, and also the Georgia here in Atlanta, or actually the Atlanta in Georgia. And then this Georgian period of proportions erected in 1769, so here's the 69 coming up again. And William was married to Elizabeth Ashbrook, which then there was a whole nother story about Elizabeth and her pilgrimage from England to the United States was very similar to my great-grandfather, David Lubin, that I was just telling you about. And anyway, this all ends up being the Villanova Estates, which was also connected to me because my son's in sports and he really always wanted to work at Villanova, and he actually went to camp there. So there's all these synchronicities coming together. This property was left to Lower Merion Township in 1940 from holdings of the Welsh Quaker settlers in the 17th and 18th centuries, divided subsequently by families, and then a few estates such as Ashbridge were prized for their open space and use by the community. And then the Haverford Hotel came up in the same line of buildings in this article that was open from 1913 to 73. And I was just watching Laura Eisenhower. And the Haverford Hotel literally states, it's just a paragraph about it, and it states that it's reference to President Eisenhower's granddaughter enjoying their wedding reception there. So I don't know if that was her mother or her aunt, but yeah, that was really cool right after I watched her video. So then it went on to Elizabeth Ashbridge, born to a ship surgeon in England, and she made her way to the United States, to Pennsylvania, and took on the Quaker religion. So that's the first time the Quakers have come up in a long time. I think the Quakers have only come up like once in my whole journey, maybe twice, but I don't remember. It's been a long time. So there may, if anything's coming up for you guys regarding the Quakers or anything like that, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with the rest of the stuff in my reading for tomorrow, but I just wanted to bring this stuff to you. And there may be some other stuff, but I'll bring that up tomorrow. I just wanted to keep this short. But yeah, let me know in the comments if any of that stuff is coming up with you. And I will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great night, guys. Rise and be loved. See ya. Bye.